Hello, my name is Marissa Payne, and I am the Gazette's Cedar Rapids and Linn County local government reporter. Thanks for tuning in to our conversation with the at-large candidates seeking seats on the Cedar Rapids City Council. The Gazette thought it was important to gather these folks here to talk about the issues facing Cedar Rapids in this citywide race and to provide another format in which people can learn about their candidates. So we appreciate you all gathering with us here today. As a reminder about how to participate in the democratic process and vote in this election, the deadline for early in-person absentee voting is 5 p.m. on Monday, November 6th. The downtown Cedar Rapids Public Library is open for early voting for part of Saturday, and Lindale Mall is available Friday and Saturday from 11 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. or Sunday, noon to 4 p.m. You also may early vote at the Gene Oxley Public Service Center on weekdays during the auditor's business hours. If you requested an absentee ballot, that must be received in the auditor's office or the ballot drop box by the close of polls on Tuesday, Election Day, to be considered for counting. On Election Day, polling places are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Visit www.linncounty.elections.org/lookup to check the location of your polling place based on your address. All of this information, sample ballots, and more are available on the county website, linncountyiowa.gov. As for the format of this conversation today, we'll start with 2 minutes each for introductions and sharing why each of these candidates have decided to run for office. Then I will give each candidate 2 minutes to respond to the questions that I ask, and we will wrap up with giving each candidate a minute for closing remarks. So we will start with the opener, going in alphabetical order by last name. So we will start with Pat, then David, and then go to Ann. And we'll dive into questions after that, rotating the order so each person gets a chance to start off. So with that, let's begin. Pat, you can start us off.
Well, thanks, Marissa. Appreciate you hosting this. My name is Patrick Loeffler. Lifelong resident, Cedar Rapids, went to St. Jude's and LaSalle, graduated from Kirkwood with a law enforcement degree, criminology. I was a lifetime carpenter too. I retired at 55 from the union, being a union carpenter, joined the city council back in 2018. Love representing people. That's what my job was as a business agent for the Carpenters Union, is representing my members and, following through their issues, making sure we come to a completion. And that's what city council is, but it's on a grander scale. That's why I'm running for re-election. We got a lot of things that we've done so far. Very proud of what we've done as a city. We got a lot of things going. We got a lot of things coming up. We're really excited about all the progress we're making. The paving for progress is important, knocking on doors. I hear a lot of that from people. So that's a big thing for us too. Working on the homelessness is another big issue for me. A little bit more background for me is I got 3 kids. All of them are in Cedar Rapids. I got my middle daughter and my youngest grandson moved back up here last spring from Texas. Unfortunately, he's got epilepsy like myself. So that's why we moved him back up here. We've actually helped solve his epilepsy issues with our CBD shop down there. My wife owns Corner Store Apothecary and Wellness. It's very humbling when a person comes back through our door and tells us we've helped change their life. That's about what I'm about, but I'm looking forward to serving again in Cedar Rapids. Thanks, Marissa.
Thank you. And David?
Thanks, Marissa, and thanks, Pat. So my name is David Maier. This is my first time running for any type of elected office. I decided to run for office, really 2 reasons. One was there were no other non-incumbents running for election. And I think it's really important to give Cedar Rapidians a choice. But also my background in accounting and finance, I believe is a skill set that's currently not on city council and is much needed, especially as the city continues to face challenges from a budget perspective. And having someone with my background would be very helpful. From a community perspective, I feel I've demonstrated my leadership. I served on 4 nonprofit boards as the treasurer. That was the Cedar Rapids Museum of Art, CR Pride, Revival Theater Company, and CSPS Hall. I've also volunteered for some other nonprofits in town, including the Academy for Scholastic and Personal Success and Harmony School of Music. Professionally, I'm a certified public accountant. I earned my MBA in marketing and finance from Northwestern University outside of Chicago. And I have 30 plus years of finance and accounting experience working for global companies. And I'm excited to have the opportunity to potentially serve all of Cedar Rapids.
And who's the furry friend with you here today?
Oh, sorry. This is my cat bandit. Sorry about that. He's decided he wants some attention.
Never have to apologize for the cats. I'm a big cat gal myself, so I love to see it.
Normally, I had to, as you know, I had to dial in from my phone today. So usually I'm cropped from like this high so you can't see the cat, but he's usually a fixture at my work at home office, which is where I'm dialing in from.
See, even our furry friends shall participate in the democratic process.
Right.
All right, and turn it over to you, Ann.
Thank you, Marissa, and thank you so much to the Gazette for hosting today's forum. My name is Ann Poe. I'm running for Cedar Rapids City Council at large because I am passionate about Cedar Rapids. I love Cedar Rapids. I grew up here. My children, my grandchildren live here. And I just want to continue to see our community grow. I'm really proud of the progress that our city council and our city team have made over the last 15 years since the flood of 2008. Since then, we've had a flood fight, we've had a pandemic, and we've had a derecho, and we continue to keep moving forward. And so I want to keep that progress going, and I am very excited about the opportunities that our community faces in the future. We have so many wonderful things going on, and I just want to see them continue. And so I'm running again because I love it, and I love our community. So that's who I am.
Awesome, thank you. So we will dive into questions from here. This one will start with David now. We'll take the first answered. So you all responded to our candidate questionnaire where we asked about affordable housing and homelessness, but I think that's an important topic to reiterate here. And just a note for our viewers, you can find coverage on that at thegazette.com. But what should the city do to address its greatest housing needs, particularly for low and moderate income households and for our homeless population? So David, starting with you.
Sure. Happy to address this because this is, even before I ran for city council, something that's near and dear to my heart and very important. I think that for Cedar Rapids, the number of homeless or unhoused individuals is still relatively low at about 100 plus. But any number is too many, and now they're more visible because they have been living in parts of the city like Green Square Park where they're getting more attention, which I think is actually a good thing. I do think the city has made some great progress by bringing in some national experts and implementing their recommendation. I was excited to see in the Gazette earlier this week about a partnership with Lynn County and the city to bring in a case manager to basically assess all the existing services that are in place. And there are quite a few, and make sure that there's a coordinated point of entry for folks who need it, but also that making sure that we are efficient in the services that are being offered and we're not duplicating effort. Finally, and I touch on this in my detailed response to the Gazette, this is not a Cedar Rapids issue only. It's an issue across the U.S. And I think we need to look at other cities to see how they've successfully addressed the solution. And I think a prime example of that is Houston's housing first approach. And now Houston is a much larger city than Cedar Rapids, but face the same obstacles and has been successful at really reducing the unhoused and providing the necessary wraparound services to identify and implement permanent solutions. So I applaud the city for steps taken so far, and I think we just need to continue to make it a priority.
Thank you. Ann?
Thank you. Thank you, Marissa. We agree as council. I certainly agree. The council at our goal setting meeting made the issue of homelessness one of our top priorities. And so when we had the opportunity to have the National Alliance to End Homelessness in Cedar Rapids come do a survey, do an evaluation, take a look at some of the services that are available, our shelters, talk with unsheltered citizens, we really gained a lot of information. I had the opportunity to attend that full day conference. And I have to tell you, my thoughts and my understanding of homelessness was dramatically changed. And I really appreciated that opportunity because I agree. The first thing we have to do is get people into a shelter, surround them with a home, and then provide them with wraparound services that will help them, whether they need help with drug abuse or financial services, but we have those wraparound services. And I love the idea of partnering with Lynn County and providing that leadership with one person as a czar or as a case manager, but really do a pretty good job of taking a look at the gaps in the system and what we need to do in order to fill those gaps. So I'm committed to that. I'm committed to that cause. I'm committed to that vision. I'm committed to working with our community, providers and Lynn County to help our people. Thank you.
Thank you. And Pat?
Thank you. There's nothing that I can disagree with, both David and Ann on that. We made it everybody on city council made it one of our top priorities and was unanimous about that. Just today, I had a meeting downtown. We had a ribbon cutting, and then I drove by Green Square Park again, and I pulled over, and there was 8 or 9 people in there with their trailer, little bitty, pull behinds and everything. But there was 2 people out there that were talking to them, and I stopped, went over, listened. I didn't identify myself, but I listened. These are outreach people over there. I'm proud of what we've done already. I'm glad David mentioned that and Ann mentioned that. We've put some stuff in place. It's not perfect. We need to do a lot more. Unfortunately, the homelessness issue is not just being homeless. It is a mental illness thing too. That's something that we're addressing also. We got to put a little bit more resources into that. Forming the partnership with the county has been one of the best things we've done, and we need to do a lot more things with them. They have access to different buildings, different resources that we don't. I think combining those 2 together, we can make a great partnership with that. So I'm looking forward to working with them guys more too. I haven't had a chance to work with the county supervisors a lot. And so this is going to give us a little bit more.
Thank you. And next question, we will start with, now it's Ann's turn to start us off. But the Cedar Rapids Community School District's $220 million bond referendum will be also coming before voters in November, be on the ballot along with this race. And that has brought to the forefront how the city's growth and development plans and the school district's facilities needs intersect. There has been some conversation about collaborating on repurposing those old school buildings or, on an aquatic center as the facilities master plan continues to be discussed. So recognizing that our schools are so important to our city's growth, what opportunities do you see for collaboration when it comes to the school district's footprint and, their own planning?
Yeah, thank you for that question. We had a joint meeting with the school board. I don't know, it's been a few months ago now. And since then, we've met again with the leadership, myself, Mayor O'Donnell, Council Member Overland. And we talked about the importance of schools within our neighborhoods. And when you think about schools, every neighborhood needs a couple components. It needs a school, it needs a church, it needs a grocery store. There are certain things that are involved in a hub community, and schools are centered to that conversation. What the conversations that we had together brought out was that we hadn't been talking, because we as a city are bringing people to our core, And I think that's really important as we look at our neighborhoods and growing our neighborhoods and stabilizing our neighborhoods. Schools are a critical part of that. So continuing the conversations with our partners at the school district, I think is really important to the conversation. And so that we're not working at cross ends, but that we all understand the goal. And as I said, the city of Cedar Rapids is focused on our neighborhoods, and schools are certainly a part of that conversation. So continuing the conversation, finding opportunities for repurposing older buildings, and really trying to work together and understanding what is of value to those neighborhoods, listening to the people of those neighborhoods. I think both the city and the school board play a critical role in listening to the neighbors who will be affected by any changes in the schools in their areas.
You, Pat?
Yeah, thank you. So like Ann, I agree with that too. I have a little bit of different outlook for that. I was actually president of the Master Facilities Oversight Planning Commission for 4 years before I retired. I see both sides of the fence. I'm like Ann, I don't want to see any of these historical buildings torn down. They can be repurposed. When we had our meeting with the school board and the master facilities planning people, we expressed ourselves to them about that. We want to, there's so much heritage in them buildings, so much history that, you know, it can be built upon. There can be more stuff in there. So we need new schools though too. We need to keep up with technology, you know, talking to everybody in the neighborhoods. It's going to be a close vote. A lot of people don't want their taxes raised again. They just went through a tax raise the past couple of years. So I see both sides of the fence. I'm for progress coming from the construction industry. Believe me, I'd love to have all my union carpenters that I represented before and, you know, build them buildings, but that's not the way it works in the, you know, in the public bidding process. So I understand both sides. I'm listening to them. And I, like Ann said, when I was president of the master facilities, we had no communications with city council. I can't remember one meeting that we had with them. You know, when I got to attend this meeting with the master facilities and the school board, I was excited about that. We're finally communicating. So I agree with what she had to say. We need to keep them conversations going, take our input, take it to heart, because we do listen to people more than they do a lot of times. Thank you.
Thank you. And can you clarify exactly which years you were in that role?
Oh boy, I want to say from like I can't give you the exact dates. I want to say from 2000, maybe 15 to 19.
Okay, thank you.
20. Yep.
And David?
Sure. So my understanding, and as at this point, just a resident, I could be mistaken. Hey, oh no, never mind. I thought my computer was working, but that's never mind. So as a resident, I believe that the school board ultimately has the decision or the recommendation on the plans for schools. And when they're making those decisions, they absolutely need to consider the city's master plan as far as where are the priorities for development and focus and growth and the amenities that are needed. It seems that the collaboration between the city and the school board was not good enough. And my basis for that was the city council meeting that I attended listened to, where it was a meeting between the city and the school board. And there was, for groups on the same team to get together publicly and have such disagreements is something that is just not what I've experienced in business, right? You can have disagreements and you can have different points of views, and those are important to flush out. But I was shocked when the school board's plan came to city council and there was such disagreement on so many points. And I don't know the cause for that. As someone outside looking in, it just seemed like there wasn't enough communication. as far as the schools themselves, my husband and I consider ourselves preservationists, right? We chose a historic neighborhood. We're very involved in Bruce Moore, saving.
We're at time, or did you want to quickly wrap up?
I can just say that I would have to rely on the experts as far as what is the best use for those historic buildings.
Okay. Next question is kind of keeping on the topic of collaboration. And this one will start off with David. How would you approach ongoing collaboration and relationship building with external entities, including the school district, Lynn County Board of Supervisors, some of our neighboring communities, or, even other key entities such as the Metro Economic Alliance? And at least with some of the other public entities, would you support having a joint entities meeting, which is a practice that Johnson County municipalities follow? Or do you see other ways to accomplish this? So, David,
Sure.
Starting with you.
I am a huge believer in sharing best practices. In my industry experience, I've spent a number of my career actually reaching out to other organizations and opening up my organization to other organizations and vice versa to understand what's working, what's not working, and share best practices. So absolutely agree with coordinating with internally, whether that be different departments within the city and the school board, the Metro Economic Alliance, and other municipalities. You mentioned meeting. I don't know if that's the answer, because I attend a lot of meetings that I leave and I think, okay, why did I just participate in that meeting? And what are the takeaways and what are the action items? So I do think that that communication is critical. And as far as what ideas I would have, I feel that sometimes informal networks are great, right? So you can have, we're in a small, tight-knit community where we can have these relationships with other folks and organically grow communication and network and bring those ideas back. I wouldn't be opposed to having meetings, but I think we can, if it worked for Johnson County and they have some lessons learned, I think I would definitely want to understand their practices and perhaps implement those in Cedar Rapids.
Okay. And Ann?
Thank you. Over the 12 years on council, I have to say that, we work in a nonpartisan fashion, and we work. I'm committed. I know our council is committed to building consensus-focused solutions that benefit the entire community. So having conversations with any organization, any group that will benefit the entire community, opening up those lines of communication, sharing information, taking time to listen, is, I think, extremely important as you work toward consensus. And I think we've done a pretty good job as a city. When new developments come up, when new ordinances come up, we take the time to listen to the organizations that these ordinances may represent. We take time to listen to people in the neighborhoods. So building consensus and sharing information, I think, is really extremely important, and coordinating built upon that understanding. And that's the way we've done business ever since I've been on council for the last 12 years.
Thanks, Pat.
Yeah. So like Ann said, we reach out to the other cities. We've got people doing research. When we got projects coming up, we don't just jump on what we think is the coolest thing in our heads and everything. We do our research. Just like with the skate park, we put a lot into that. We reached out to the other communities. We visited. I didn't get a chance because it was a little bit before my time, but I got to vote on things. We reached out to the other communities. Some people visited skate parks. We got the whitewater rafting thing that we were getting input from professionals different cities that already have this down in the Davenport area. So it's important for us to reach out to the other small communities. You know, Cedar Rapids is the second biggest city in Iowa, but we're a big little city. You know, that's what it goes when I refer back to the homelessness population. We don't have a huge one, but we shouldn't have any of it. So reaching out to the other communities, the other city councils. We were in a meeting the other day, the MPO meetings that I go to. All the other city councilmen are at those meetings, or city councilwomen also, excuse me. They're attending them. They're throwing their ideas out there for things. So we're already working together with the different entities, the counties at those meetings. All of the different small towns surrounding Cedar Rapids are at those. So it's great to get that information, to introduce yourselves to them, bounce ideas off of them. What we have been doing that, what works good for them. Even though we don't have the same projects going, our projects are affected by their people in their communities too, because they visit everything. Like down at the skate park, when I was down there, I was seeing people coming from out of state for that. So that's the best feeling. I'll let the stop there.
All right, thanks. I don't remember who I started with.
I think David started on that last one there.
Yeah.
So now it's your turn to start us off, Pat. Next question is, as we all know, Cedar Rapids is no stranger to disaster, unfortunately, having been through, 2008 flood, 2020 derecho. What do you see as the biggest lessons learned from these disasters, and what do you believe the city could do to strengthen disaster preparedness, both on the city organization side with staff and council, as well as communication with residents to prepare them as well?
Yeah, well, I can honestly say, going through the derecho and the floods that we've had over the past 15 years, our community is on call. Our unions, our trade members, all the different businesses who gather their people to come out, and that's what it was about. It was about rallying around Cedar Rapids. Everybody has their own issues and going through the same thing, but some people weren't affected at all. And those people who weren't affected, they're the ones that were there helping the people dig in and get things taken care of. Cedar Rapids went through two of the most devastating, storms and floods in this nation, per capita here. So we've bounced back. I'm so proud of the way the city, reached out to people and people responded. And that's what it's about. It's our community is what brings us back. We got to keep getting prepared. We're building the flood walls on both sides. We got to follow through with that. That's important. I was escorted out of my house down on 8th Street and 10th Avenue when I lived down there by the National Guard, armed guard. It was the worst feeling in my life that I ever had. I was displaced in my house now that I have for 2 weeks. It was the worst feeling. And I don't want to see anybody else go through that. We have a lot of people saying that it's never going to go through that again. We're never going to have a flood. Well, you never know what if. We're looking at freeze warnings down in Texas today, this morning and stuff. So Mother Nature's rearing her ugly head. So we need to be prepared as a city. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
David.
When I was filling out the Gazette's priorities for city council, and what do I think the most important issues were, one of them was the next disaster, right? Meaning that it's inevitable that something is going to happen. And how do we best prepare for it? I'm really impressed with the city and the resources that they have available across many areas, but even with emergency preparedness, they have the Neighborhood Pact, which is a extremely comprehensive program that explains how, as individuals and how as communities and as elected officials, how can we prepare and then react in those situations. I think the challenge there is how is that communicated to the community? I wasn't aware of it until, like I said, until I started doing some research as part of my candidacy. So I think making that accessible to communities, whether that's through schools, churches, through emails before there's an emergency. And then also too is just to make sure it's updated. Technology changes, make sure that's updated annually. Make sure that, that the county also has an emergency preparedness plan. And so making sure that we're working together in alignment. I'm really excited about, the preparedness from a resiliency hub perspective. So there was in Wellington Heights, second resiliency hub that was created in the county. So if and when there's our next natural disaster, there'll be a place for community members to get together, and a minimum recharge their phone, maybe services that they need. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ann.
Yeah, thank you. Well, in 2008, like Pat, I lost my family home in the flood of 2008. I worked for the Rebuild Iowa office during that time, 3 years post-disaster. And we really took a strong look at programs for preparedness. We've had since we don't have to remind people, we also had a flood fight in 2016. And then the pandemic, and then of course the derecho. We learned lessons in 2008. Our preparedness, as David mentioned, the neighborhood pact came directly out of disaster. And sharing that information, which we have done on a regular basis with our neighborhood associations, getting that out to organizations that are directly involved in recovery is really important that we share that information. We work in concert with Lynn County Emergency Management. After the derecho, one of the things we did not have in 2008 was an emergency center that we now have in the second floor of our First Avenue Fire Station. So it's an emergency management center, and everyone comes together and we coordinate from that position. But to the residents of Cedar Rapids, it was a double-sided sword. We are prepared. And yes, there's always more we can learn from each disaster. They're unique. No disaster is the same. But I think we've learned many lessons along the way. And I think we're as prepared, and knock on wood, as we possibly can be. But the neighborhood PAC is really important. And those neighborhood resource centers that we put in place are more available and can pop up anytime in disaster. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I might have messed up my first order with Pat, and so we're just kind of going with the flow at this point. I'll pick on David, and then we'll get back on track here. So David, I'll give this one to you first. But as the city continues its search for a police chief to succeed Wayne German, what do you see as the three greatest public safety needs in Cedar Rapids, and what should the city do to address those things?
Yeah, I would say the first one is gun violence, and the reason I say that is because it is we've had some very difficult and painful losses of life recently, and although if you look at the 5-year trends, shots fired is actually going down. It doesn't feel that the community is feeling safer. So making sure that that the community is aware that there are our officers are in place, they're there to help and protect us, and they're doing an effective job, I think is an important. I would say two is safety of like walking and driving, right? So I can't think of the right word, but in just making sure with, there's been some streets that have changed from one way to two ways. Now the roundabouts and traffic circles, scooters, more people are biking and riding. And just, I don't know if it's really something that the police would get involved in, but it's more from a community perspective and knowledge. I remember when I first moved to Cedar Rapids, I was living on the northeast side and working downtown, and I would walk down First Avenue to work. And I thought that was one of the most dangerous things to do in the city, because people just aren't used to pedestrians. And I would say third would be, how the city, responds to mental health challenges in the community. And I think you said I was out of time, correct? Marissa?
We have like 10 more seconds.
Oh, I will just say that I'm really impressed how the police are trained and have empathy to help people with mental illness or that are causing disturbances. I was at a community meeting where the officer says, please call us. We don't want to necessarily arrest these individuals, but we want to help them and not hurt themselves or hurt others, and connect them with the resources that they need, which oftentimes is not a jail cell.
Thank you. And Ann?
Yeah, thank you. I obviously gun violence continues to be an issue, even though shots fired have gone down, but it's still with the number of people being injured and killed. One is, as we've said in the past, is too many. So gun violence. But I think part of what we look for and have looked for is strong relationships with our neighborhood associations. They literally are the heartbeat of our community. They are the eyes and ears of what's happening in their neighborhoods. And we always have police officers attend our neighborhood association meetings, and a lot of information is shared during that time. Some of what we've done in the past, of course, is we've partnered with Foundation 2, and we have our mental health, a mental health unit now, where our police officers are trained to work with people who are having mental health issues. And that, I think, has been over the last 4 years extremely effective. And we have actually, we started out with a couple, and I think we've even hired 2 more in the process because it has been so successful. So I think addressing, how we engage with our neighborhood associations and continue with those relationships. And then, of course, with our police officers and the relationship that they have with people in distress.
Thank you. And Pat?
Well, that's the bad part about going third, is everybody gets to give all the good answers out there. So I was going to say that too. I'm really proud about, well, let me step back. Guns it's an issue across all the country. Access to guns is too easy. We can only do what we can do about it at state levels. We can try to do things ourselves, but we can't supersede what's already put in place. I'm really proud of our city, what we've done with, like Ann was saying, with the mental health liaisons. There's people with guns who are ready to kill themselves, and those people are dispatched to diffuse those issues, and they walk away with nobody getting hurt. It's changing this atmosphere in Cedar Rapids. That really is. That's a huge thing, because we live in such a volatile atmosphere right now. I used to be the one that wanted to catch up with the person on the road, and you used to cut me off and have words with them and stuff. And you don't dare do that anymore. We're in such a volatile atmosphere. You don't know when somebody's going to pull a gun. Unfortunately, almost every other day we're reading about shootings or hearing. Ann and I are getting emails all the time about the different crimes and the shootings and killings that are going on in this city. It's not isolated to the southeast side. It's not isolated to the northeast side. It's happening on the southwest side too. So it's all of the city. It's every city until the state and the feds do more about gun control and stuff like that. It's still going to be an issue, but like I said, I got to reiterate how proud I am of our police department, that they put in the effort for the mental health issues to diffuse the situations that are so volatile out there. So thank you.
And thank you. So Cedar Rapids has been studying options for a potential, I forget what we're calling it anymore, a multi-generational dual-use facility. Maybe we're calling it all of the above, that could provide additional recreation space as well as space for programming, like a senior center potentially. So if this is ultimately pursued, what would you hope to see from such a facility? We'll start with Ann.
Yeah, thank you, Marissa. Yeah, I think, this kind of it parlays into the previous question, in that in that finding opportunities for kids to participate in after-school activities. So having some kind of multi-generational center where kids, I know our Northwest Neighborhood Association is constantly busy. We have run out of room there. And we need more room for people to participate, whether it's students after school or whether it's older people wanting to be engaged in painting classes or knitting classes or card games, or just someplace to be able to recreate and spend time together and create that sense of community. I think all of council is in, and I always hate talking for all of council, except we do talk about this because we think it's such a big need in our city. After the flood of 2008, we lost the Whitworth Center, which was our community center. And so we still find that it's a big need, and that we really have to have some place where we can safely have children engage in activities and where we can have older people also engage in activities, but it's got to be close to a bus route. It can't be someplace out on the hinterland of the community. It's got to be accessible, and it's got to be kind of close in so that people have the opportunity to feel like they can either walk to it, take a bus to it, or easily get to it by car.
Thank you. Pat, I think.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. That was a huge thing when we sent out surveys and talking to people is something to do for the whole, all the families, the multi-generational. Cedar Rapids we're improving a lot of things. We got the pickleball palace going down there with the Grove Brewery and everything, but that's not for the entire family. So like I reiterate, the skate park, we're added that. The whitewater rafting park, we're talking getting that going and everything. But this one facility can bring everybody down there, whether it's going to be for birthday parties, that different rooms for something like that, all kinds of different events. So it was one of the most important things on our surveys and stuff, getting the feedback from people wanting a place, even knocking on doors. I hear about that. What are you guys doing for the families? There's nothing downtown for the families right now besides restaurants and bars. And so that's been a huge priority, I think. I'm all for something like that. I want to go big with something like that. It's coming up with the funding and everything to do it, the proper funding, proper channels. Cedar Rapids can do it. So I'd love to see something like that follow through. I'm all in support of that, Marissa.
Thank you. And David.
Thanks.
Thanks. So actually, this is the first I've heard of an initiative like this. A couple things come to mind. I've got to be familiar with the Northwest Rec Center recently, and that is an amazing space. And whether it's sports or meeting rooms or a gathering space, I think that is a really nice model. But I think we could perhaps repurpose an existing facility to meet these needs. So, and what comes to mind is the YMCA downtown. I'm a member of the Y, and to me, that is the most diverse place in the city from all different perspectives, including multi-generational. It needs a facelift. I mean, I believe it was months when the entrance was just torn up and bricks were loose. That's finally been repaired. But I think if the city was going to invest money, I think with the YMCA and enhancing that facility, and that also ties into the whole activating the river, right? So it's obviously not riverfront, but it's close to the river, and it could be a place where families could come downtown, and another draw to get people into the city. And I of course, I would want to understand what other cities have done to meet the needs of the community when they're asking for enhanced or additional facilities for families and for multi-generational use. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So the city council this summer approved a deal with the city's preferred casino operator to set aside land for a potential casino at the old Cooper's Mill site, should the Iowa Racing and Gaming Commission eventually award a license. A 2-year moratorium enacted by state lawmakers is slated to expire next summer. After 2 failed attempts at being awarded a casino license, do you still believe Cedar Rapids has a shot at getting a casino? And do you support this continued effort to pursue a casino? Why or why not?
I think I go first. I'll go first.
Sure, you volunteered, so we'll go with you.
So personally, I was not in support of a casino, but I sliced and diced data, and I actually reached out to Marissa to get some of her input or some data. And I know that Lynn County voted in favor of a casino, but I looked at the data to see, well, what does Cedar Rapids vote for? And even Cedar Rapids, if you just look at the city, they are in favor of it. And because I would represent the entire city in an at-large role, I would respect the wishes of the community. And I would support the current location, or I'm supportive of that location if it's a boutique casino. And what I mean by a boutique casino is a casino that, or a space that primarily has gambling, maybe a little restaurant, a little bar, but not like a huge hotel that they own and nightclubs and all multiple restaurants where visitors from into the city or into the casino wouldn't leave and wouldn't support the neighboring businesses. With the boutique hotel, you would be able to go in and do your gambling, but then, you know, appreciate the Riverwalk and appreciate the restaurants and the First on First West development, and be able to really share the wealth with all of our local independent businesses down there, not just the casino. Thank you.
Right, and to clarify, you expressed your kind of beliefs in what a casino should be. Does that mean you support the current casino proposal that has been shared, or do you have a stance on the proposal that developers have put forward so far?
I don't have a stance on that. I haven't seen it in detail.
Okay, thank you. And Ann?
We support photography.
Oh, you were cutting out a little bit there. Can you repeat that?
You know, I'm supportive of the agreement that's in place to have to, if a license becomes available, that they could purchase that space, that they have an option in place to purchase it from. I just think there just needs to be, I think we, as a city, we need to really be careful about not this like mega complex downtown that will eventually hurt smaller businesses rather than help them.
Thank you. And Ann?
Yeah, I've been in favor of casino in Cedar Rapids since its initiation, since it was first brought to City Council. And what that represents are a number of jobs in our community. And I think that's really important to take a look at. The space right now highlighted for a casino could really only handle a boutique casino. I know they talked about having a restaurant and some venue space for music, which is always appreciated and nice, especially for local artists who need some place to perform. And so what was presented to us the last time we thought this was coming up really was more of a boutique, smaller size casino that fit nicely into the space at that site. So I've always supported it because I understand what it means for jobs in our area. Thank you.
Thank you. Pat?
I've always supported the casino initiatives. I worked with them when I was in the trades to help try, pass the vote before. I'm optimistic, but I'm not counting on it right now. The last time we passed this, the state legislation voted right away to enact law, or that referendum to not be able to, a moratorium, excuse me, to not be able to build. So Des Moines doesn't like playing with Cedar Rapids, in my opinion. It's not a competition. You know, Cedar Rapids we messed up when we voted it down the very first time. We should have built one back then when we had an opportunity to do it when they were first passing them. I'll be honest with you, Marissa, none of the casinos in the state or Las Vegas or anywhere have built them off of my back. I would rather go get a steak dinner and walk away with a full belly and knowing that I got something for my money and not have hard feelings. So I don't mind people gambling. I would rather sit down at a house with my buddies and play nickel, dime, quarter poker and lose $10 the whole night and hear stories of BS. You know, that's my favorite kind of gambling. So, but I would definitely support. I'm definitely in support of it. I know the group it's a really good group of investors. That's one reason why I'm supportive of them. They're good people. They're local people. They've invested in this city before. So that's why I am in very good support of that. Thank you.
And watching Family Feud.
Yes. Thanks. I'll have to tell you the whole story sometime.
I look forward to it. All right, and we'll end on one last question here and then head into a little wrap up. Goodness. Who do we start with again? We might be on Ann. We're gonna go with Ann.
Okay.
Ladies first.
All right. So some Iowa businesses and Iowans have expressed concerns that bills targeting the LGBTQ population past the session may, hinder the state's ability to attract workers to grow our population. LGBTQ advocacy group One Iowa Action tracked 29 different proposals targeting the LGBTQ population this year, 4 of which the governor signed into law. As the city looks to grow a diverse and inclusive workforce, how do you see these bills, working either with or against those efforts? And how do you plan to personally promote inclusion?
Well, I've always, I was raised in a family that my parents were extremely inclusive of all of the friends that came over to our house. And I grew up that way. And so my belief system has not changed. Legislation will not change my belief system. It's part of my being. We accept my family, myself, I accept all people. And I'm distressed over the fact that we feel like we have to legislate or mandate morality. That just is not. That's not, I think, our role as elected officials, whether you're at a federal level, a state level, or a local level. I've always believed that. It's part of my core. So I want Cedar Rapids, I want people who come to Cedar Rapids to really feel like Cedar Rapids is their home. It's important to me. I want for the citizens of Cedar Rapids what I want for my own family. And I would want them to feel welcome. I would want them to feel safe in their environment. And so in my role as a local elected official, I can control what I can control. And what I can control is making sure the policies we put in place at a local level is inclusive and allows everyone to feel as though they have a home in Cedar Rapids. Thank you.
Thank you. Pat?
Yeah, thank you. This has been really important to me because members of my personal family are part of the LGBTQ plus community. I have a biracial grandson. I mentioned earlier that this atmosphere we live in right now is very volatile. Women's rights are going backwards. Voting rights. I mean, it's a shame what we have to fight for right now to maintain what we've already gotten, from, the fights we've had. We're going backwards in a lot of ways. Iowa's trying to mirror Florida when it comes to things. God forbid I come across somebody being bullied, something along that, it's not right. Come down to our shop, check our shop out. We're so LGBTQ friendly. It's a passionate thing for me. I was never part of that association before, but now my own personal family members, I don't care what race, religion, sexual orientation, what color your skin is. Everybody deserves the right to be treated with decency and respect. And that's what we're losing in this country right now. It breaks my heart every day watching it on TV, the shootings we see. We need to look out for our neighbors. That's what it's about. You don't know what's a person's going through in their personal life. We have to take care of each other. That's why my job before, I always had the creed I am my brother's keeper. I take care of my brother and sister union members when I had my full-time job before. That's why I'm on city council now. I protect everybody. Everybody has a right to love whoever they want to love, be a part of whoever's family they want to be a part of. We're all one family. So thank you.
And David.
Sure. Marissa, I want to go back to something that you stated in your question about bringing talent to Cedar Rapids. I'm going to share a story that happened a couple of months ago. A CEO of a company, business here in town, reached out to me, and I wasn't even connected with this person on social media. And the CEO said, we were recruiting for a key position in our organization. We found someone that is the top talent that we definitely want to get. The person is gay and is afraid to move to Iowa and to Cedar Rapids, and asked me if my husband and I would meet with this candidate, and we did. And when the CEO reached out to me, I said, it pains me that we have to have this conversation. It's so unfortunate, but it's real, Marissa. And as a city, I applaud Mayor O'Donnell and the city council for being welcoming and inclusive and really walking the talk. I do think we can do more as a local government. One issue that's important to the queer community and their allies is banning conversion therapy. You may be aware that was passed in Waterloo and then it was rescinded. But there are actions that the city council can take to show that of what we have control over, we can send messages that we are inclusive and that we are engaging. And these aren't just important to the LGBTQ plus community, it's to their allies and their families. And if I was elected to city council, I would work with my peers to introduce I don't even know how you would do that, but just go about introducing a ban in conversion therapy for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, so it is time for closing statements now that we're through our questions. So I'll just start with Pat and go back in that alphabetical order again. So we'll give you each 1 minute for closing statements.
Well, thanks, Marissa, for you hosting this and the Gazette for hosting it too. I really like to ask for people's votes. I love what I do. I love representing people. I'm a Cedar Rapidian through and through. We're doing a lot of good things in Cedar Rapids right now. I want to continue to follow that through. That's part of my life is follow through. I love who I work with right now. The city councils, we got a great council. That's one thing I feel all of our city council members have something good to bring to the table. And that's why we have such a good crew of people. We gel well together. We bounce things off of each other. I just would appeal to everybody and vote for Loeffler at large. Thanks.
All right, thank you. And David.
Sure. I have to say it's been a lot of fun. So I joined the campaign, got in the race relatively late in July, and I've spent a lot of time meeting folks all across the city. And I would have to say that I would act on city council as I have during my campaign. I've worked extremely hard. I've been creative. I've been engaging. I've listened. I've people that have questions or concerns, I've followed up. And I work hard, I collaborate, and I get things done, just like I did on my campaign. I ask you for your support. You know, I've done everything I possibly could to get to know the voters and to let them to know me. And I hope I've demonstrated that a vote for David Maier is a vote to bring creativity, a fresh perspective, and finance and accounting expertise to City Council, which is much needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Ann?
Yeah, thank you, Marissa, and thank you again to the Gazette for hosting our forum. I'm proud of our city council. As Pat said, I'm proud of our city team. It's taken a lot of political will, courage, and, you know, bold moves, not just to bring us back from disaster, but over the last 15 years, but to make the tough decisions required so that Cedar Rapids is a place where people want to raise their families and businesses want to grow and flourish and come and thrive. And it's an exciting time to live in Cedar Rapids. We have gotten a lot of work done over the last 15 years since 2008. And we continue to make bold steps. I've been honored to serve on city council for the last 12 years at large, and the last 2 as your mayor pro tem. And we've made positive progress, and I want to see that going. So having your vote on November 7th as a city council member at large will help assure that the amazing work this council and team are doing continue. And we're here for the citizens of Cedar Rapids. We love Cedar Rapids. I can guarantee we don't do it for the money. We do it for the love of the city and for its people. So with that, I'd ask for your vote on November 7th, and I would be honored to have it, but I've been honored to serve you as well in the past. So thank you again very much.
All right, and thanks again to each of you for participating. And even though everyone has reminded you well of the date here, don't forget to vote on November 7th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. or vote early prior to that. And also remember to follow our coverage on these local races. You know, this at-large race, school board races, bond referendum will have much coverage live to at thegazette.com on election day. So thank you all.